Hello, and welcome to Season 2 of our show, Teaching with Creativity. I'm Mary Dagani, your host for today's show. I'm a content specialist here at educationcloset.com, your digital learning hub for arts, integration, and STEAM. I'm so glad you could be here today. I'd like to talk to you about something very important to all of us teachers: energy. How many of us would love to have a little extra energy at the end of the day, right? Well, I was actually thinking about energy, but more in terms of a connection I saw between dance and science. I know that even thinking about teaching dance or movement can be pretty intimidating, so I'd like to share with you some fundamentals that I hope will help you become more comfortable. When it comes to the elements of dance, remember the acronym BASTE, B-A-S-T-E. It stands for body, actions, space, time, and energy. How does the energy we study in science and the energy that dancers use go together, you ask? Let me explain. We'll start by taking a look at the Next Generation Science Standards Performance Expectation for 4th grade. That's Physical Science 3-2. This standard states, make observations to provide evidence that energy can be transferred from place to place by sound, light, heat, and electric currents. The DCI, or the disciplinary core ideas that support this expectation are, number one, the definition of energy. Energy can be moved from place to place by moving objects through sound, light, or electric currents. The second DCI, number two, is conservation of energy and energy transfer. Energy is present whenever there are moving objects, sound, light, or heat. Okay, I want you to take that second DCI and store it right here, because we're going to be coming back to that one later. Now let's turn to the National Core Arts Standards and look at the 4th grade dance standards. The following dance standards strike a chord with me. It's Performing 4.1. The anchor standard states, select, analyze, and interpret artistic work for presentation. The enduring understanding is space, time, and energy are basic elements of dance. And here's where it really gets good. The essential question is, how do dancers work with space, time, and energy to communicate artistic expression? Which brings us directly to Standard C, which reads, analyze movements and phrases for use of energy and dynamic change and use adverbs and adjectives to describe them. Based on the analysis, refine the phrases by incorporating a range of movement characteristics. So let's stop and think about all this. The way a dancer attacks the movement. So is the movement sharp, sudden, smooth, or sustained? Or the way a dancer holds tension in their muscles? Are they tight or are they loose? The force of which they make their movements, are they strong or gentle? The weight or the heaviness a dancer shows by being connected to the earth or light on their feet as if they're floating away. And of course, the flow. Are they moving freely through the space, or are their movements constricted or bound? So attack, tension, force, weight, flow. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yes. All of these are examples of how dancers show energy in dance. How would all this energy look in the classroom? Well, we know what energy looks like in the classroom, don't we? But teaching energy and teaching movement might look a little different. I highly recommend starting out individually. So this is where you would explore movement, just basic natural movement with the kids. I'm going to make a suggestion here, and if this sounds a little new agey to you, take it with a grain of salt. We're just using this idea to introduce the element of energy in dance, and that idea is Taichi. Where I live in Southern California, at any time during the morning while I'm driving to work, I can look out the window and see people in the neighborhood in their yards or in the park practicing Tai Chi. And Tai Chi are those long flowing movements. They're very slow and they help to calm the mind and help us to focus. And what classroom couldn't use some calming and focus at times, right? Well, in Tai Chi, they have something called an energy ball. And for those of you listening to this later in the podcast, I have included a link in the show notes to some more ideas about using the energy ball and description of it. So let's do a real quick example. So what you would do is rub your hands together and rub, 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 rub. Create that friction and then stop. Wait for a second and then pull your hands apart. And as you practice this, you will start to feel what they term in Tai Chi as life force or energy in between your hands. And then have the kids practice making that energy ball bigger. They can roll their energy ball around. They can make it bigger. They can roll it over the side, roll it up high, roll it down low, toss it in the air, catch their ball. And after some exploration with the energy ball, I would get the kids into groups, and we're going to do something called shadowing. This technique is when a student will stand behind another student and copy their movements. So they're not face to face, they're back to front, and they are shadowing just like our shadow follows us. Well, the students follow each other. So you can do this in groups of 2, groups of 3, groups of 4. You can actually do it in a larger group. You might want to give it a try, see what works for you. But remember, we always want to have those kids in their personal space because space is another element of movement and dance. So here's how they can work. You could have 2 students, one shadowing the other, and then after a period of time, you could tell them to switch. Then they turn, and all of a sudden, student B is now the leader, student A is now following. So they each get turns following and shadowing. You could also do it in triangles. So think of groups of 3. Let me get my paper here. And I just arbitrarily numbered these. But for instance, student 1 is a leader, 2 and 3 are shadowing student 1. And then after a bit of time, the teacher can say switch, students 1 and 3 turn to shadow student 2. Then after saying switch, students 1 and 2 will shadow student 3. And so on and so forth. And then you keep going around the triangle, rotating the leader, and the other 2 students are shadowing. You could also do that in a group of 4 in kind of more of a diamond shape. So you have student 1 being the leader, 2, 3, and 4 are shadowing, then switch, student 2 becomes the leader, 1, 4, and 3 are shadowing, switch, student 3 becomes leader, etc., and so on and so forth. And you're always switching. So they're each getting a turn to be leader and to be the shadows. So don't forget to always bring these connections back to how they are showing energy and how they are moving, just using those adverbs and those adjectives to describe how they are moving through the space, and that will support their learning as well. Okay. So how can we bump up the energy on this lesson? Well, in the standard, it talked about how energy can be transferred from place to place by sound. So how about using music? I highly recommend using music that does not have words or is sung in a foreign language so the children aren't focusing on the words and trying to move parallel to the words. They are listening more to the melodic lines. I'd like to suggest some music for you. For example, let me get my iPad down here. Gustav Holst's The Planets. Here's a bit of the first movement, Mars, the bringer of war. Very energetic piece. Okay. You can hear that, hopefully. You can feel that weight, that force, that tension, the attack. Or, for contrast, how about the movement called Venus, bringer of peace? Okay, the energy being very, very loose and gentle and light and free with that beautiful horn solo. So as you can see, the music can really set the mood for the energy of the performance. Another one I would highly suggest is Modest Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exposition. One of the movements is called The Hut on Fowl's Feet, also known as the Hut of Baba Yaga. Okay. Talk about weight, force, tension, and attack. There you have it. So you can see the music is going to add a lot of energy to the performance. And if you're going to add music, remember that DCI that I said to store up here? Let's go back and take a look and think about moving objects. So if you're listening to this on a future podcast, right now I'm going to be showing some props that you can use, and I've included links in the show notes as well. One prop you could use are scarves. Scarves are very flowing for it. So if you have anything gentle, any kind of gentle, loose, smooth, sustained motions, scarves are great to use with the kids. This fan, I love this fan. Got it on Amazon, okay? And the fan, you can see, has a rainbow silk tail on it, so it's almost like a comet, would be like a comet, and you can really show force and energy with that. You can even show the opposite, some loose, smooth, sustained motions as well. And my favorite, okay, you ready? Because I have to turn out the lights. How about here we go, turn down the, a lighted balloon, an LED balloon. Can you imagine doing movement with this? Turn down the lights to your classroom or the auditorium and a performance for the parents. They would absolutely love it. So there you go, LED balloons, gotta have them. Just think of the performance your students could come up with to show off their understanding of energy through dance. And what a great way to assess them, too. Well, I'm about out of time and energy and need to sign off now. But don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this with someone you think would benefit, and leave a comment below. The best discussions and insights come from you, our viewers. And remember, you deserve to thrive as an educator. Let your creativity shine through. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time on Teaching with creativity. So long for now.